Hi everyone. Okay, welcome to the live stream. So, today's announcement 24.3. I asked on Instagram whether there would be gymnastics. Yes, we got some gymnastics. A nice little workout that is always the same, right? At the end of the open thrusters and some gymnastic movements on the barbell. Super cool. So I put a poll in the chat. So happy that you could answer the question on whether or not you actually will make it within the time cap. So within the 15-minute time cap. I just watched the pros going, and they all went sub 10 minutes. So it will be hard for 95 to 96% of the people, I think, to make it within the time cap. This is gonna be, yeah, a 15-minute effort, I think. So, all right. So as I said, always 5 to 10 minutes Q&A. So if you have some questions already, some anxiety coming on, just post it in the chat so we can talk about it. Then I will talk about the strategy of 24.3. Thought about it, had a little bit more time to think about it because of the change in hour in the States. We go for a strategy from a beginner to an advanced. So that would be something to look forward to. And then also want to end the stream with an analysis of 24.2. We are going to look at the pacing of Medeiros and Adler. Obviously, two different ways. I'm sorry, Medeiros in Mertens. I'm sorry for that. The pacing of two typical CrossFit athletes that didn't have the tall statue, but did obviously very well in that workout. So how was their pacing? Did they increase their times, lower their times? And then I also want to maybe discuss with you guys in this chat. That would be nice to talk about all the no reps they did, or many elite and sub-elite athletes actually did on their deadlifts. So I think it's also an important one to look into, and maybe we can discuss how we can actually improve our in getting better, just making sure that we don't do this again, because it's actually pretty sad, to be honest. Anyway, so any questions already in the chat that I have to look into? So we have most people at least said that they probably will not make it in the 15-minute time cap. I'm curious to see if there are some fit people, really fit people, because you have to be really fit to make this. For example, myself, I also will not make it. I think I'm actually quite sure about that. I don't think I will make it to within the 15-minute time cap. I might actually get quite close because I'm quite good at chest to bars and bar muscle ups, but maybe people who know me, they know that I have a very bad engine. So that is not going to help in this one for sure. Good. So, okay, so the movements, 10 thrusters, 10 chest to bars, 5 minutes. Five rounds, and at 95-65. So we're looking at the workout here. Yeah. So what do I think about that? That's a typical, as I said, end of the open workout, where you have thrusters, which will be pushing, and also lower body. So it will be a whole body exercise, a lot of breathing, very hard movements, obviously, mostly for the breathing and for the cardiovascular system. And then 10 chest to bar pull-ups. So it's immediately going to chest to bar pull-ups, surprises me slightly. Many people will have to do singles or like normal kipping chest to bars. Here you have a massive advantage if you trained the last year into kipping chest to bars. You will rush through them, less time under tension, and so forth. We'll get into the strategy in a second. Then rest 1 minute. Interesting. I like this. So 1 minute rest, which is obviously completely insufficient, but it can actually differentiate really good athlete that could actually recover from this, and moderate or normal average Joes and Janes in this. So there can be, this can actually act as a separator, I think. All right, and then it's obviously not done. Then the workout, I'm not going to say it starts, but it certainly gets a lot harder. 7 thrusters at 135, so I'm quite good at thrusters, and I'm thinking, can I do this unbroken? Likely not. So I will also have to do 4 and 3 with a lot of rest in between. I know this already. So that's heavy. 35, 95. I think also for the girls, you saw Ariel Lowen actually keeping up the pace in the beginning with Jay Crouch, but then relatively, I think that weight was a bit heavier for her, so she fell off the pace. And then 7 bar muscle ups, depends how good your bar muscle ups are, obviously, but that's a hard movement. Again, 7 is an annoying number. Many people will probably break this up in 2 sets or even in 3 sets. So that's something really to look forward to. That is a real CrossFit workout, I would say, typical CrossFit workout. So good. Let's have a look at just something I wrote down. 10 thrusters, 95. I would say intermediate. Why? Because it's quite. Maybe I'll put myself a little bit smaller here. So just a small one. So it is not an easy. The movement itself is pretty straightforward, I would say. Many people have done thrusters a lot, but 10 is just this annoying number. So it is an intermediate difficulty, I would say. And then 10 chest to bars, depends how good your chest to bar are. That also is definitely intermediate to even ranging towards hard. I'm talking about moderate to advanced athletes. Obviously, elites, everything is easy, that doesn't really count. But anyway, then the minute rest, nice. And then you have the 7 thrusters at 135 or 95. That is definitely a hard movement, I would say, because of the weight and also the volume, and also just the volume you accumulated on beforehand. 7 bar muscle ups, obviously a hard gymnastics movement, one of the harder out there, certainly under a lot of fatigue. So definitely hard. So that's how you already can attack this and think about this workout. Then let's look at some strategies. So please put something in the comments if you're agreeing with me or not really agreeing with what I'm saying. But yeah, looking for sure into a little bit more of the actual. So look a little bit more into the strategy. The first 5 rounds. So how I see this: go 90 to 85 of your percent of your maximal effort. Let's say a Fran is a maximal effort, right? You do 3 to 5 minutes full out, all out Fran. Think about that pacing, but subtract at least 15%. So go, I think, a little bit slower than you want to go in the first 5 rounds, because it's all, if you make it through the first 5 rounds, you're a decently advanced athlete and you are fine in bar muscle ups. You have the thrusters as well. All the time will be lost there. So don't push yourself too much the first 5 rounds. If you're an advanced athlete going every minute on the minute, that's already, I think, quite fast, to be honest, right? So 5 minutes, 1 minute rest, then you would have 9 minutes left. Yeah, won't be easy to make it. So think about doing Fran with a handbrake on, right? Like the car. Think about like a little bit of brake in. Then 1 minute rest. I will talk about this a little bit. Walk around. So do not sit down or hunched all the way down, like on through your knees, like in a squat position. I saw a lot of athletes do this. Not the best position for lactate clearance and also for recovery. We'll get to that in the next slide, but I think it might be interesting. Then the last 5 rounds, break the thrusters if your thruster is less than 100 kilos or 225 pounds and 165 for the females. I honestly think that you anyway will feel if you need to break or not. Don't be a hero and try to go unbroken on every round. I honestly don't think you will gain too much with that. You saw Jay Crouch, who had a phenomenal time also breaking up his bar muscle ups. I don't think he broke up his thrusters, because for him that's actually a very moderate weight. But for most people, 135, 95 will definitely not be a moderate weight. And then bar muscle ups, I cannot tell you too much about that. It depends on your skill. Try to be consistent, take a little breather, maybe 5 seconds longer than you want to, so you can do bigger sets, because jumping off the bar, coming down on the floor, again, more fatiguing. Try to do as little amount of sets as possible, clearly. Even with a super high heart rate, that's something to think about. Good. So let's look at let's look at a little bit of science, and let's look at the 1 minute rest. All right. So here you have a paper. It's not super, like the quality is not super high from the picture, but don't worry about that. So what they did here is an exercise that increases blood lactate to a certain extent. So you have like a CrossFit workout or a sprint or something that is intense, you know. So you see here the lactate goes up, and then they had different types of recovery. They had no recovery, like meaning no recovery, no walking around. They were just sitting on the bike and just sitting, like doing nothing. No spinning of the pedals over the wheels. Okay, so this was on a bike ergometer. And then they had different intensities of lactate threshold, not so important in this case. This just means how intense they were cycling. So 40%, 60, 80, 100, and self-regulate. It's like do whatever you want. And you see that there's actually a difference between the different conditions. And this means that the 0% of lactate threshold, this means just sitting still. You see here the lactate clearance is much slower. This is taking 32 minutes, much slower than when you would do some kind of exercise, like 60% and even 80% of lactate threshold. Okay, so this is because your muscles can use the lactate as a fuel. And obviously, if you move, like walk around a little bit and stay upright, you can clear the byproducts a bit faster, and this could potentially enhance your recovery. So yeah, you can sit quickly and then just walk around, but don't hunch over, because then the lactate and also the byproducts, the fatiguing products would be trapped in your muscle, which is not really something you want. Okay, so 1 minute rest. Yeah, don't. Some people will, I think, go super hard the first 5 rounds and then think, oh, I have a minute of rest, I can rest. But yeah, don't go for that strategy. The 5 minute rest will feel like 10 seconds anyway, so don't count too much on that. Recovery again. So this is just to show you guys, to give a little bit of info on how recovery works. This is a muscle oxygenation, so how much of the muscle is actually oxygenated with oxygen during a workout. And this is Jelle Hoste, who is a games athlete, came in 10th in the 2023 games, and myself, right? And we did an EMOM of power cleans. So we did power cleans, we did front squats, and we did jerks, like Macho Man. You see here that always when he does exercise, it goes down, obviously because you extract oxygen out of the muscle, goes up, down, and he always recovers. Is almost to fully recovered. So always when the muscle oxygenation is at the top, it can start again. So this is what you want to achieve during your recovery. All right, and this is what happens when you're not that trained like me. In the beginning, all is fine. You feel like going well in this EMOM, but then it gets harder and harder. That's because your recovery of the muscle oxygenation is insufficient, and you just die at the end, while he could still go. So that's also why CrossFit athletes would be highly beneficial. This for elite CrossFit athletes, this 1 minute rest will be highly beneficial, I think, because they will be able to recover their muscles and their whole system much better in this 1 minute than a person who's less trained. Okay, so good. Let me see if there is any questions popping up. So if you have a question about this, please just add them to the chat. I don't see much. Yes, okay, good. So, okay, there's one person who actually said, or a couple persons, I don't know exactly how many, who think they can finish the workout. That's super cool. That means that there's a fit audience here. That's super nice. All right, so good. Without further ado, I think I gave already quite some good tips related to this. So let's just go with the flow, and also talk about the 24.2 workout, what we can learn about from 24.2, and potentially what we can take from this workout towards 24.3. So this is credit to Maria. She just follow here. You can follow her here on Instagram. She's a biomechanist and actually does a lot of data crunching on open workouts and so on. So if you're interested in this, just give her a follow. You can see here you can always go back and just type in her Instagram handle. So I was always interested, how did these guys, Medeiros versus Mertens in 24.2, how did they pace their rounds? Did they go super fast the first round and then just slow down, or would they keep the exact pace throughout the rounds? Because just as an anecdote, I did just over 8 rounds and I could almost keep to the exact seconds 2.5 minutes, which is 8 rounds. At the end, I could increase my pace a little bit, right? So I didn't have a negative or positive split. I just always had 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And I think it was a perfect pacing, but maybe it's not, yeah. At the elite level, it's a little bit different. So here you see the first round, they actually went the fastest, which does kind of surprise me. Maybe it's also because of the open style and obviously the open announcement. And then so 148, 151, 52. Then there were some hiccups with their ropes, so don't take those two into account. And then again, 156, 157, so always around 2 minutes, but it actually grinds up. So this means they went hard the first round and then just kept the pace as good as possible for their full workout, which kind of is interesting for such a long workout. I would think they would pace it a little bit more consistently. Maybe we have to look into some even more elite or one of the best scores in the world to see if they also would do this, because you can easily just time their workouts. That's always interesting. Good. So before we can move on, so take this into account that pacing of the elites is they went hard the first round and then just kept on grinding, always 1 to 2 seconds slower. Let's take some questions before we move on. Austin asked, like, for the lactate clearance, can you move too much with only 1 minute? Good question. You can too much, maybe you mean too intense, like start to run around or really walk at a brisk pace. You could potentially do this, yes. So I would suggest walking slowly around, just not sitting down and keeping, let's say, not the lactate, but just all the blood flow pooled within the lower body. That's the most important. Just walk around slowly. Don't go too intense. You don't have to hop on an air bike or so. That's probably not the best idea. William. Thanks, William. It's interesting information. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's obviously my pleasure. That's why we're here. So Ulf said is talking about this workout 24.2. He said that something that worked for me was rowing below 20 strokes. So that's talking about strokes per minute. That's also a way to pace yourself, which was still 155. So that's I think quite a good pace, 155. That's on the fast side, even per 500 meter. It was a jumping workout, obviously. Yeah, like not tripping. For me, it was not really jumping workout. It was also the deadlifts, actually. I'm a good deadlifter, but I fatigue fast, so it was always that as well. So it's always interesting, you know. For some people, it's a rope workout. For some people, it's a rowing workout. It all depends on the individual variation, which is super interesting. Good. Tips for 3 months deep foundation guy. So tips for a beginner. So let's talk about beginner of 24.3, pure beginner. It's gonna be the 5 rounds. I think I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to predict the leaderboard, but getting through those first 5 rounds, chest to bar, 10 chest to bars, so 50 chest to bars in total, it's gonna be a decent score. So I think if you have some gymnastic skills and you can do pull-ups, skipping pull-ups, try to get through the first 5 rounds. That is your goal. Just treat it as an all-out workout to make that goal. If you don't have bar muscle ups and you are sure that you cannot do it, then it's probably a good idea to go fast in the first 5 rounds, obviously. Arno asks, if you're trying to get at least one muscle up, good question. Would you recommend singles or thrusters for the at the 135 pounds? So he says, if you're like on the verge of having a muscle up, like many people I would say, would you, let's say, throttle it down during the thrusters? To be honest, singles in the thrusters, that doesn't make sense. You just lose so much energy by always cleaning, squat cleaning the bar. So no, I would just rest a long time after the thruster. Simple. I would just rest like 45 seconds, 1 minute, who cares? Because you will jump up the leaderboard dramatically if you can do one bar muscle up. It will be, everyone will get to the 7 thrusters, and then you see a lot of people who won't make the bar muscle up. So no singles, never do singles in thrusters. Actually tried never to do singles anyway. Maybe in some movements obviously, but no, I would say rest enough, rest really long, try to have a big pull, use the lats, high hip, and then a header over the bar. Ulf, so indeed it seems that many of the elites that we saw, Ulf says this, seem to be they were seemed to be gassed out the last couple of minutes of the workout, right? So indeed, they went hard the first 5 rounds. I think they did in 3 minutes, right? The first 5 rounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that's very, very fast. And I'm not sure they actually gained too much with that strategy. Slightly slower, and then as little rest as possible on the second round, as we discussed. So pacing here is actually super key. So let's dive in a little bit into more of the pacing. So you see here of 24.2 and how it works. So this is just the same. It's just a line on every round and how it goes up. And you see here that Mertens they both got consistency slower. I find this very interesting. Always 1.25 seconds and Medeiros 1.48. So Mertens actually started a bit slower, like slower round, and actually his decrease was lower than Medeiros, and still Medeiros won the workout. All right, so that's interesting. So these are the average times per movement. So think about that's also something I thought. If you take the row of 24.2 and then you add the deadlifts and the double unders together, you have approximately the same time. That's also how it is here, kind of. They have 1.8 or 108 minutes for the row, or 109, and then 56 seconds for the double under. So you see how crazy close these guys actually were, right? Only on average Mertens rode a slightly slower pace, and that's at the end also because he tripped a couple of times more. That's why he lost the workout, did slightly less good in the workout. So that's that. Good. All right, let's finish the stream with and then maybe we recap one more the strategy for the latecomers here. But just please, I would like to discuss this with you guys, and also in the chat if you wanna have an idea about this. I saw some videos popping up on YouTube saying that, hey man, look at this deadlifts. There's so many people who did their deadlifts entirely wrong, or at least they no rep their deadlifts because it's so light and people were repping so fast that most of it, you saw the head was actually still in front of the bar. And sometimes even when the hip was extended, so this is something you have to think about yourself later and to get better at CrossFit. The actual rep presented by CrossFit is that you stand up, everything is extended, as well as the head is behind the bar. And many fast movers were just repping like this guy here in the picture. Instead of how you see Noah, he's doing it well. Noah Olsen, he was behind the barbell here. And it's actually pretty sad. Like, there was an email apparently now from CrossFit saying that Tura Magda, the one who actually recorded the fastest time, had a major penalty, 20% reduction in score because of his deadlifts. I mean, this is something I don't understand, honestly. If you're an elite athlete, you have a judge. You're a professional athlete. You have a camera. It's very simple, straightforward movements. Row, you cannot do anything wrong. Double unders, barely can do anything wrong except for miscounting, which is human, that's okay. But deadlifts, I mean, how can you no rep your deadlifts to become 3 seconds faster in the open? I find this a little bit, I don't really understand to be honest. I mean, there's probably because the competition feeling, and they wanna do as good as possible. But why do they want to do as good as possible in the Open, while the Open is completely irrelevant for an elite athlete, except for maybe more followers on Instagram and then getting a little bit more known in the public. But even then, I think your season only starts in the quarterfinal. So yeah, it's a strange thing that happens. It's a nemesis of CrossFit, these no reps. CrossFit HQ should do something about this. Now I think they gave Mr. Tudor Magda. He didn't win the workout. So be it. 20% less reps, fine. But maybe they should do much more stringent and maybe across the board, or even disqualifying some athletes, because I don't understand this. If you film your workout and you see it yourself, that's your job. You see that you're doing no reps. Still, you post these workouts. I don't understand. So let me know in the comments if you agree. Ulf says, some movements are more prone to no reps. Yes, maybe that's fine. Like a deadlift, for example, it's more prone to no reps. But especially then, you have to make sure that you move well and just don't do no reps. I'm not gonna talk or bad about athletes, but I had one high-profile athlete once say to me that what happens in semifinals or in live competitions is when there are, for example, deadlifts, they do the first reps in the gray zone. They know that they're not fully extending, like 5 degrees less, okay? And then they see if the judge catches it. If the judge catches it, they start doing good reps. And if the judge is not catching it, they just keep doing the gray zone reps. I mean, it's understandable. It's the competitive nature, and it's okay. It's a gray zone. I'm not really fully agreeing with that, but I understand if your life depends on that workout. But in the Open, you should always do good reps. Like there's no one should do weak reps. Anyway, good. So to end this stream, let's just have a look at here is a 20%. A lot of more information and videos coming out in the next couple weeks. We just filmed 5 videos. I'll have to edit them, and I'm looking forward to show them to you guys, that we can enjoy some scientific information. Good. Have a good night, at least here in Europe, and see you in the next one. Ciao.